Democratic Club, Jay. How are you?
Good.
I invited you about 2 years ago to come out to the Freeport Democratic Club, and I thank you again for doing so. And I did it because I too was hearing a lot of things about you and the party. And when I invited you, you came out, you were gracious, you spoke, you talked about the Democratic Party because I felt that that was necessary because your now sitting mayor in Freeport didn't seem to understand how the party operated. Certain things, and the club had no control over it. Unfortunately, that night he was not there. But I think the party, there's a fundamental problem, and it's nice for you to come out and people to address issues, but I think the fundamental issue is, how is this party operating? Allie just spoke about something that really concerns a lot of people in my club, and that concerns people in this corridor. Why, if we have 345,700, I forget how many, Democrats in Nassau County, is the Democratic Party of Nassau County running Republicans and trying to pass them off to fool this corridor that they are Democrats? Because when you read what comes out in the newspaper just before the election, it says D next to their name, and they're running as Democrats. And yet, some of us who are astute enough to go to the debates, and not everybody is, we know that they're Republicans, because I had a conversation with the person who was running for supervisor, and he told me that there were Republicans and all conservatives, and he was upset that Swazi was standing there bashing at one of the debates, all the Republicans, bashing Republicans, and yet he's sitting there, and the other candidates who are conservatives and Republicans. I want to know why. And I think everybody in here wants to know, why is the Democratic Party consistently, constantly running Republicans when there are over 345, 700 and something Democrats in Nassau County? And in this corridor, you know, why do we have to vote? Why are we as Democrats being forced, or if we feel we're Democrats and we want to follow the Democratic Party, why are we voting Republicans? And why are you endorsing Republicans? Why are you even giving them a Wilson Cola, which I know is a legal document that you can do? Why are you doing it? There are too many of us. Too many of us. Why are you doing that?
more than Republicans. 40,000 more
Because
Democrats.
you want more Democrats than Republicans. We want to know the very fundamental question that needs to be answered here.
There's a question there, and there's a...
And then I want to also ask you another question. Freeport ran an entire Democratic ticket. Annette Dennis, who happens to be in the room, Mayor Andrew Hardwick, who was already mayor, Judge Stephen Drummond, James Caracciolo. Anybody else? That was it. Okay. 2 trustees, Democratic mayor. They're all Democrats now. You come out and you support what everybody in Freeport knew to be a Republican party, the Home Rule Party. I was the treasurer of the Village Party when it was a Republican party. And I know when Angie Cullen jumped ship to go to the Home Rule Party. So I know what the Home Rule Party is, and so doesn't everybody else in Freeport.
Like the Unity
So why
Party
do you
in
come
Hempstead.
out and support against 4 Democrats, an entire Democratic ticket? Why are you supporting a Republican ticket supported and backed by the Republicans? Please answer those questions for us.
Well, I will.
And then, wait a minute, and then send a letter. Hold on. You sent a letter to every Democrat in Freeport telling them to vote for a Republican Party that we all knew was a Republican Party. And it just so happened that a deal was cut with Kennedy and Pinheiro for them to be on their ticket.
Thank you.
Okay? So we want to know the answer to that question, because these are fundamental questions that need to be answered by the party chairman. Nobody else can answer them.
I'm going to answer. Are we ready?
Yes.
Yeah, we all...
Because I'm
Wait,
fine when I start to
bated
answer,
breath.
then there's another question. You know what? I'm going to hit a few of these points.
Well, hit
First
that
of all,
big one.
I will. You know, I've been called a racist because I didn't support Andrew Hardwick, and he was the first African-American Democrat elected mayor in the village of Freeport, and I helped get him defeated, and I was called a racist.
No.
I was.
You
may not, but I was.
I'm saying that's not why you were called it. But
your opinion, but I take issue with it, all right?
Let's listen.
I'm just gonna tell you, I take issue with it.
Go outside. I'm gonna go take my.
Go ahead, Jay.
Because, I don't take that lightly. But I will say to you that, I guess I wasn't a racist, I must be a bad racist. Because I wasn't a racist when he ran the first time, and I supported him. And I asked the Democratic Party troops to get in there when he wasn't winning. And he didn't think he would win against Glacken. And he brought in the troops, and we helped, and we pulled him over the top, and I was there on his victory night. Okay? So, to answer your question, something happened between the time he was first elected and the time that he ran for re-election, which gave me the reason to not support him. And it had nothing to do with the fact that he was African American or not. And what it had to do with was my judgment, and the judgment of a lot of people, that there were things that were going on in Andrew Hardwick's administration we disagreed with.
Okay.
And we felt were inappropriate. And I had talked to him in the beginning about some of them.
Did you tell him about
Yes,
all
I
of
did.
this?
Oh, yes, I did. The first thing had to do with, I think at the very beginning, was the pay raise issue. Okay? Where I called and I was blown off. And I have to tell you something. Let's get this straight. The Democratic Party line, okay, is not just a charitable line that goes to anybody for anything. There are things that I feel are important about it. You're raising some yourself that are very important. And I'm going to answer your question about Republican too. I will, because you deserve an answer. But you have to understand, I'm not here and I'm not going to stand here and condemn Andrew Hardwick. I've had my differences with him. I've had my disagreements with him.
Yeah,
I
okay,
respect the
that's
job,
fine.
as he tried to do it, we differ. But understand me, when I have to take a look at what I think is good for the broader community, for the minority community and the white community, the black community, Latino community, all the communities, I got to take a look at what's going on in a community and see what we're going to do about it. That's how I make the decisions. And people can disagree with me. But understand that, again, some part of what we do is about that cronyism that you referred to originally. And it necessarily has to be, is going to be, and the next chairman is going to be as well. If Fred is the chairman. It has to be.
Swazi offered me a job, I told him no. I say
Don't be
no.
in my job.
No.
Maybe.
But it's not fair to say. But what I'm getting at is that you get elected with the help of the Democratic Party, and then you go out and you hire Mondello's law firm or this and that, and these other things go on, and you give all the benefits, right? Not into the community. Mondello's law firm is not out of Freeport, understand? To all of the Republicans who then are going to work against us in later elections. You're going to have a disagreement with me, okay? And that's going to be something that I'm going to have to deal with. Yes, that's a grudge I'm going to have. And sometimes the party chairman, whomever that party chairman is, has to make these tough choices. Not everybody likes them. But what I believe I'm doing, and sometimes I'm right, I hope most times I'm right, but sometimes I'm wrong. But what I believe I'm doing is making sure that I'm building strength, building assets to get a job done. I want to hit the petitions and I'll get back to the Republicans, okay? Because you raised the question about the petitions. You raised in the sense that we didn't have five candidates, okay? One, I believe, was Denise Ford in the 4th legislative district, which you crossed endorsed. There were 4. We had those 4 candidates. I'm going to deal with Denise Ford in a second. We had those 4 candidates. They were knocked off the ballot in 3 cases, we believe, completely erroneously by a judge. We chose not to go into the appellate division and contest it any further. They were not running in seats where we could have any chance of winning those seats. Right? How do I decide that? How do I determine that?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you how. You take a look at the registration. You take a look at the voting patterns. You see who people vote for.
Much as we did in the primary.
Right.
And that's why we did such a good attack.
And that's why you're
Whatever the case, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, but to remain focused and not to beat around the bush, that is not the point. The point is that somebody obviously in the Democratic Party did not do their job properly and scrutinized these people and made sure that they are living in the district,
They
okay?
didn't have,
And then the petitions also were properly and all that.
they did not have, it was a redistricting year. Our council read the charter as such, that in a redistricting year, and this is something that goes on in every district across the country, you don't have to be living in the district that you run in, you have to move into it by the time,
By the time.
okay. In some, Congress, you never have to move into it, by the way.